Joined us over this Zoom call. Good morning to everybody who's joined us over this Zoom call. We're very honored and delighted to have Mr. Shaun Pollock join us this morning, who's the recent inductee in the prestigious ICC Cricket Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Shaun, on behalf of all of us at the ICC. And we're so pleased to have you.
Thanks very much.
So present today are members of the press who would like to speak with you. And I'll just remind everybody that this is happening over Zoom. And if anybody has a question, they should be using the raise the hand function on the app. And I will reach out to you and allow you to ask your question. I see Nathan has a question. Nathan Gogela, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Morning, Polly. It's Nathan here from SA Media. Polly, you've enjoyed quite an illustrious career as a player. Then moving on to join us in the commentary section, not to mention an analyst as well. As a player, what would you say were your memorable moments as a Protea?
Wow, there have been quite a few. I thoroughly enjoyed my journey, and basically every single moment we played for the Proteas. Maybe a few results that didn't go away, but. Yeah, in general, I was chatting last night and just saying, there's no way to give back to cricket as to what it's given to me. The journey, the friendships, the experiences, even the adulation and even the finance, everything that's come from this wonderful game that I've been involved in for so many years has just been fantastic. So never really be able to repay it. And it's at moments like this when you do get acknowledged or recognized or get an award that you do tend to allow your mind to wander back to all the happy memories that you have. So there's been so many, to be part of the Proteas family was just fantastic for me. And I enjoyed every part of the journey.
And then the last question, your good friend of yours, Alan Donald, shared quite a touching letter in the public sector. I mean, can you just share how was your relationship between you and big old Alan Donald?
Yeah, it was cool. I got to read it last night, and yeah, we obviously shared a good friendship and a good partnership. I think in cricket, talk about partnerships in the batting and the bowling front, and for me to have come into the side, Alan was already established, already a leader of the attack. So it really did make it easy for me, and we forged a good partnership for South Africa over those years. So it was very kind of him, the words that he did mention. Say from my side, we did enjoy our time together and all the fun that we had both on and off the field.
Thank you, Nathan. Any other questions? Niharika, go ahead.
Good morning, Mr. Pollock. First of all, congratulations on being inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I want to ask you how much being a member of Hall of Fame means to you after you've contributed so much for South African cricket. And secondly, my question is related to the final, which will happen in Dubai in a few hours' time. Whom are you backing to win the World Cup this time around?
I think that's the harder question to answer, the second one. But we'll get back to. I think, for me, the Hall of Fame. I think I've mentioned, it's the cherry on the top, almost the bookend of your career. As I say, I enjoyed all my times that I spent playing international cricket. But to be recognised and to be put into this kind of company, and obviously the people in the Hall of Fame are the ones who vote for you to be inducted. So it's a real honour for me. In many ways, there's so many people and so many names in that Hall of Fame. It sort of encompasses my whole career, growing up, the folklore of your W.G. Grace and your Sir Donald Bradman. You heard all those stories, and those are the kind of things that inspired you to want to play the game. And then to have, heroes who you watched over the years and looked up to have a family member in the Hall of Fame, to have my mentor, Malcolm Marshall, there, to have all the people, a lot of the people that you had some fierce contests against and admired from a distance. So, yeah, it is. I mean, it wasn't something that was part and parcel of my playing career. I think the first inductions was only in 2009. I'd already retired by then. But once it was formulated, the Hall of Fame, it's always something that you looked at and thought, well, maybe one day you will be inducted. So it's a fantastic honor, and I'm humbled to be joining the likes of the people that are already there and established. And as far as the final goes, it's a tough one. I think it's going to be a great contest. I think if it's anything like the two semi-finals, it'll be really a nice spectacle to watch. I think if I had to say who I would like to win, I think New Zealand have tried so hard and been in so many finals and semis. I think if the fairy tale would probably be for them to win, but that's going to be a big ask. I think Australia have really started to find their formula. I think they're really starting to gel together well as a combination. And I would think they would go in the favourites, but I think I would personally be hoping, because of the New Zealanders and the way they've gone about things, that they would end up on top.
Thank you. I see Rasesh has a question. Rasesh, go ahead.
Hi, Shaun. Many congratulations. Would you want to reflect on this current New Zealand side and some of the stuff that they've achieved recently? And do you see any visible change in the way the current New Zealand setup plays to the ones that you competed against in the past? Often when you go around to India or Pakistan or into the subcontinent, you get a lot of people saying to you, we always hoped our team won, but our second choice was always South Africa. We always would support you guys. And you almost get the feeling around world cricket at the moment that it would be the case in point with New Zealand. Everyone wants their team to win, but if it's not going to be their team, then people tend to look at New Zealand and say, well, maybe they're the kind of guys who we want to win. And I think it's just the way they go about their business. They've always seemed like a really nice bunch of guys. I haven't been involved with them, but in the media, you get to do some interviews and they always come across in such a wonderful manner. And even when they've been touring South Africa, you go into their camp before COVID to do some interviews, and they just really seem like such nice guys and guys who are really trying to maximize their ability and maximize their performance. So I think that's why they've maybe won the world of cricket over through their mannerisms and the way they've gone about their business. I think the fact that they won the Test Championship maybe gives them a little bit more self-belief to go on a big occasion and try and produce the goods. But yeah, it's difficult to compare teams from the different eras. I just think at this stage and point, I think they've got a really good balance of experience, and I think there's the belief in them that they can go on. I mean, they've been in a final, they've won the Test Championship, and now they're in another final. I think that's maybe the difference between them and maybe the New Zealand teams of the past.
Thank you. Shaun, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Looking back today as you receive your induction cap, if you reflect back, what are the memories that come flooding, if we have to sort of ask you today?
Yeah.
About your playing career, about when you started, if you look back.
Yeah, there's as I say, there's so many. You never forget your debut. As a young kid, you're growing up, you've watched your heroes, you've watched and admired people who've been in the cricketing world, and you always wonder, can I one day play for my country? Can I maybe emulate my dad and my uncle and represent South Africa? What kind of journey will it be if you do end up making your debut? And then you have to pinch yourself a little bit, because you're in the fold and you're on the international stage, and then you just try and do your best. You try and nurture your talent and produce the best results you possibly can. And there's some fantastic memories along the way. Individually, your performances you have, team successes where you go and manage to beat sides who you're probably not expected to win. Countless games, and then it comes at the back end where it becomes a little bit sad, because that journey comes to an end. And you spend a lot of years in the commentary box in coaching, reflecting on what you've done and what you've achieved, and maybe how you can impart sort of other information onto other people. And then it's at moments like this when you get the honor of being inducted into the Hall of Fame that you sort of do look back and maybe take a moment or two and just analyze the situation and where you've come from, what you've done, and going forward. And I think timing-wise, when you've just come out of playing, you maybe see things slightly differently. But a couple of years on, you maybe look back with a little bit more nostalgia, I suppose, at what's happened and the journey that you've been on.
And if you have to share one memory that sort of comes back, what would that be? I know it's a very hard question, but
yeah, it's very hard. I think individually, you look back at your own personal best performances, so your top score or your most wickets that you managed to achieve. So there was Australia in a test match in Adelaide. I think that was probably my best bowling performance. Even down to captaining South Africa to the Commonwealth gold medal was something special. Going to India, the West Indies and Sri Lanka and winning test matches there and in Pakistan when it was almost near impossible for opposition members to go on those test series at those times, the march of the West Indies or to go to India and beat them in their own back garden, or to win a test series in Pakistan. There's been many examples. I think they're always the ones you enjoy the most are the team performances, when you've got together as a unit of 15 members and you've sort of put out a goal that you want to achieve and you go ahead and manage to do that. I think those are always the ones you look back on fondly. But there's been so many, so it's difficult to single one out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And staying back with Sri Lanka, the fellow inductee, Mahela Jayawardena, you've played a few games with him. Any sort of memories that come back?
Yeah, keen competitor. Had some wonderful battles with him. I remember him and Kumar Sangakkara putting on a massive partnership, which I wasn't part of the bowling attack, but I had arrived. It had been the birth of my second daughter, and I'd got to Sri Lanka late. And from the sidelines, I think I got there on the first day of the test match and watched him and Sanga bring about a lot of pain into the South African bowling lineup. So, yeah, what he's achieved has been fantastic. I mean, his record speaks for himself, and the manner in which he went about things, just a fantastic guy. And I've always enjoyed our interactions that we've had.
Thank you, Shaun. If there are no more questions from the press, we'll end this call here. It was lovely chatting with you, Shaun, and we look forward to seeing you later at the stadium.
Yes, it should be great, and hopefully it's a good final as well.
Yes, thank you so much.
Cool.
See you.
Right.